page Yudalef.
Yudalef.
Because we learned part of it, but I said we came to a point that we need real fine insight. So far we said that the oilos are mislabish, they're imbued in the kelim, and the kelim are in proximity, and they're suitable kelim for these oilos. And this is why the oilos actually find, so to speak, a comfortable abode in the kelim, and they reveal themselves fully to the extent that they unite with the kelim. Now we're coming to another aspect in this islapshus. Vehagum, although sheyesh islapshus hamoichin gam b'madrege shelamato me'ameich, that in fact there is where the moichin are mislabish in madriges that are way below moich, and where they're not really capable of being united fully. As for example, Slapshus sechel bekeach hatnua shebiyad, where the sechel is mislabesh, is imbued in the koyach hatnua, in the movement capability of the hand, or bekoyach hahilo sheberegel, and in the movement of the capability of the foot. And we'll come back with the emphasis. K'moy kein, and similarly, bechinas chesed dreya emina, where the chesed is mislabish in dreya emina, in the right arm. Shezeh bechinas chitzenius hamidas. This is the aspect of chitzenius hamidas. Why is it called chitzenius hamidas? Because this is the level that's called li for piyur chesed. This is the level of the midah when it's ready to functionally display itself rather than essentially what midah is, but functionally what it can accomplish. Yesh bozeh mibchinas hamech. In all of these situations, there is of the aspect of the meich. Yeah, 1 second. So what we are pointing out is that yes, indeed, normally the oiros are mislabish in kelim that are suited for them, but here the sechel is mislabish in a koyach which is way below the sechel, and it cannot be said that when the sechel is mislabish in the koyach hatnua should be yad, that the koyach hatnua itself becomes wise and smart. Koyach hatnua does not become smart. Koyach hatnua remains a very simple koyach hatnua. For example, if you write and you wrote the wrong letter, or the letter didn't come out nice and you want to correct it, is the koyach hatnua sensitive to that? Does the hand say, "Oh, look what I did"? The hand has no reaction to that at all. The fact that you recognize that this isn't the sechel. So even though the sechel was viewed in the hand, in the koyach hatnua shebiyad, and yet it's possible to make a move that is not according to the sechel, and it's not even sensitive to the fact that it went off kilter, and yet clear is in the. There is definitely the Inhasei, but this is a different kind of level of islapshus. It's not islapshus where they can actually unite. Like the sechel mislabish in the brain, as we said. All right. Let's continue. Yes, Baruch, you go ahead. You had a question.
Just to be on the same page with you, we started to discuss the subject with respect to the spheres the Mila, but now we came back to the muscle with the goof and the kaya.
Right. This is gonna go interchangeably.
Well, back and forth, in other words.
Back and forth. Because to understand the spheros, we have no access to the spheros. We can't even conceptualize what a sphere is. We are told that you should know that the similar thing that you're observing on the goof level in the world, which is there's a keach, an oil and a keli, koyach and the keli, the similar thing is a mile. But to really have so to speak, an understanding of it, it has to come from the Moshe. All right, so the second line on page with Beis. I'm sorry, the less of the end of the first line. Shezei inyan. This principle that we just now finished talking about midos. We said that in Chitzonis HaMidos, when the midos, this is particularly emphatic and particularly significant when it comes to midos. This is Chitzonis HaMidos. Chitzonis HaMidos means the end point of the midos, where the midah comes to function on a functional level. And in this level itself, yesh bozer mibchinas hamoichin. There is the aspect of the moichin. As I'm always pointing out, this is an extremely important concept for us, because we have to overcome the effect of the secular view that midos, that the functional union of the midos, this is what midos are all about. It's absolutely not true. Midos are koyachas nefesh, and they are formulated at a much higher level on the sechel and in the heart, and then it comes to the final stage, which is called the functional. And even at the functional stage, there is the union of the moichin. This we are going into, but that's one of explain and point out that a very simple point that we can all relate to. There is never a moment of a robotic movement in a human being, at any level. His whole intelligence, his total awareness of the reality of the world is always present at every level where he's acting. Like I pointed out many times, something that brings it out clearly. A human being is walking down the road, a straight path, aiming to reach a certain destination. Alongside with him is walking a habdal dog, also going in the same direction. There's a fundamental difference between the orientation of the human being relative to the orientation of the habdal of the dog. The dog, as it's walking down the path, is aware exclusively of the path that it's walking on. I'm going there. It's completely oblivious to anything else. It doesn't require a sense of, oh, this is a real world, there's a reality here, there's a street, there's a city. Absolutely nothing. There is in the Friedrich Rebbe's Maimonim, he talks about animal activity a lot. He says animal can walk. He's walking. He's to reach. He's going someplace. In the meantime, he tramples on the human being. Doesn't get shocked. He tramples doesn't recognize what he's trampling on. Or on Kalim or on anything. He's totally unaware. He's aware of only what he's, the limited activity that he's actually doing. A human being is totally in a different category. I point out, when he walks on a straight line, he's not oriented exclusively on the straight line. He cannot walk on a straight line. A human being has to be always aware of the reality where he is. He's in a street, he's in a neighborhood, he's in a city, he's in a country, he's in a continent. And then some. This is the sechel element as manifest at the lowest level of functionality. And we can test it for ourselves. You're walking down the street in your neighborhood you're very familiar with, and then you visit a country or a city that you're totally unfamiliar with, and you're given directions, walk down the street, and you're following the same direction, you're walking down the street. You're not going to feel as comfortable in that street as you feel in your own street, even though all you're doing is walking down the road. Nothing is bothering you. You're not insecure walking down the street. It's not that you don't know what to expect. You're going down the street, it's nothing. But you don't relate to the environment. This is the moichin element as manifest on the lowest level, as you said, chitzonis amidis, and something has to do with the poil, with the actual functionality of midis, of action. Okay, now we are at the end of the first line.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So why do we conceptualize this by saying that the meichen in the Slavish is something larger than itself? Why don't you just say the hand's the hand, and a person has meichen, and the meichen is aware of the environment, of the ultimate goal, but not shot that it's from Slavish in the koach of going. So it's totally two separate entities. The mind tells the feet to move, and the understanding of the world is coming from the mind, not from the Slavish.
This is what I said in the answer. This is how the Chinese way of explaining it, but it's not true. Because this would mean that the actual action is robotic. And it's not true. The action itself is a living action and has intelligence to it. This intelligence is not as closely related, united with the action as it is in the kelim that are suited for it. But nevertheless, there is the hislapshus hamoichin. It's a different kind of hislapshus, we'll say, but nevertheless there is hislapshus. Shezeh inyan. This principle that we said, that the chitzonis amidus, it is in the hislapshus hamoichin. The chitzonis, which is the execution level of the middle. This is the union of the gimel pirkin shebiyad, the three sections of the hand. She'ein bechinas chabad, chagas, and nehi. These are the three levels. Chabad is the moichin. Chagas is the actual midah, the sense of the right and wrong in the midah. And then the he, this is the functional level. Shebechol midah biprat, that is manifest and exists in each midah biprat individually. just as in the human being in general, he is able to conceptualize and he is able to relate to the union that he can conceptualize. This is the midah, and he is able to bring it out to a functional fruition. And if he is lacking any of these, there's something not complete in the human being. The same is true in every subsection of the human activity. We're talking about midas. I'm not going to go into the sechel. In the midah, there is the chabad of the midah, there is hagas of the midah, there is here of the midah. Okmoi, specifically, as in the case ha-sechel, shemechayev hashpa'as ha-chesed, the sechel that forces out, doesn't force it out. The sechel mechayev means that sechel convinces one that there should be hashpa'as ha-sechel. The sechel cannot, hashpa'as ha-chesed cannot compel the hashpa'as. But it mechayev means a logical, a rational, compelling. In other words, it is the logic is compelling, but it still has to follow through on the action. It's on a different level. Sechel shemechayev hashpa'as ha-sechel ha-chesed, and then the etzem ha-chesed, and then the etzem ha-chesed, the actual feel of chesed, that is part of the midah. Upiolosoi, and then its action. Hainu, which is the hapiule is hashpa'osoi bepeil of his in bestowing and its fulfilling bepeil, an actual fact of this chesed. What do we see here? That even though we're talking about chitzoynis hamidos, there is the element of chesed, the element of the sechel that justifies the midah, calls forth the midah. And then there is the midah itself. And then there is the action level that comes forth in the chitzonis, in action. We'll have a chance to discuss it even more, but it's to be understood the principle that we must bear in mind all the time as we are discussing these very subtle inyanim is to understand that the human being in his presence in the world, human being's presence in the world is not that of a stranger who comes to a strange country. Wherever he is fully oriented there. So when it comes to an action of chesed, his sechel relates to it, his midas relate to it, and ultimately on the chitzonis and midas. As we said the other day, you observe somebody who is in distress, and your reaction is, oh, let me try and help him. Superficially it appears that this is a reaction to your observation. He's in distress, and you cannot tolerate him being in distress for whatever reason. You have mercy, pity, whatever it is. You want to go and help him. This is like a midas reaction. You feel for him, so you go and react. included in this whole experience, this entire phenomenon, is a completely different realm. Completely different reality. If you go and say, I'm going to help him, yes, you're reacting to what you observed, but at the same time, you sense in your sechel it is the right thing to do, not just based on the midas. This is the right thing to do from the perspective of the reality of the world itself, from the human reality and the world itself.
I'm not getting this.
1 second. Okay, you'll get it in a minute. If we perceived, as the world is trying to, is currently blindly following, that everything has developed itself completely out of context, there's no reality in the world but for the structural reaction, things to one thing to the other. Then yes, there is no compelling reality and a reason why I should respond to him, except for the fact that I personally feel better. But if we understand that this is a created world, and this world was created by God, there's a real reality, there's a real spirit in this creation. Everything is significant, everything is beloved. Everything has support from the ultimate source. Therefore, if he is suffering, it shouldn't be that. He shouldn't be suffering. It's contrary to the reality of the world. This is the sechel element. And this goes along, they said this, you're talking about the faith, this goes along with a person wherever he goes, at whatever level it is. Just as we said, when a person walks on a path, this path is not isolated, removed from the rest of reality. It is absolutely part of reality. And this is why he feels oriented there. And as we pointed out, that if you find yourself in a strange place, you don't know exactly where you are, even though you walk on a path, but you can relate to the overall reality here. Where am I? Something is lacking.
This is parallel to the person who is stressed.
Stressed?
Who experience stress. He's not related to the the beloved.
No, stress. He hurt his hand. It's hurting him. That's nothing to do with reality. This concept of reality is exclusively an intelligent thing. A dog gets hurt, also hurts him. See a dog walking on 3 legs, because the other leg is hurt. Of course, it hurts him. This reality is exclusively an intelligence property. To demonstrate the intelligence level and the most tangible level, as we pointed out at the time. When you see a wall, it's only a wall. There's absolutely no significance to it. And you see a second wall, perpendicular to it, a third wall. When you see a fourth wall, you say, oh, this is not a wall, this is a house. What's a house? A house has a function, has a reason for being here. There is not a dog that relates to a house. It can only relate to a wall. A human being, on the other hand, is always looking for where is the significance, where is the reality of this. All right. So, on the functional level, there is the sechel shemechai b'ashpos hachesed, the sechel that convinces one to do the sechel, the chesed. The etzem hachesed, and then the very fact of chesed itself is also present. In other words, there is a midah, what's called chesed, of kindness. This midah of kindness is not dependent on reaction of seeing somebody in distress, but actually bestowing of chesed, bestowing of goodness, of kindness. Like we have the classic illustration of Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was sitting outside of his tent, waiting for Ochrim to do chesed. He doesn't see anybody in distress, so why should he be drawn to it? Because the midas chesed itself, in the human being, this is a superhuman being, but nevertheless, it exists only also on a minor, a minuscule level. That there is in him of chesed. The people are looking for jobs, I talked to the other day, looking for a job. What is your looking at a job? I'm looking for a place that I can volunteer my services.
What?
Looking for a place where I can volunteer my services. Volunteer. That's a satisfying job. It's not funny. It's fulfilling a human being because he has a chance to do chesed. It's not so funny, Yitzchok, because...
Well, I thought he needed some... I thought he needed some money. I thought he needed...
That's right. He needed a place to be a human being. And it's not so easy. You come to a hospital and say, I want to volunteer. Wait a second. Who are you? What's your background? It's not so simple. Okay, let's go.
Rabbi, when someone's projecting how they would feel if they're in like the poor person situation, why would they project at all? Like, how is that like completely worldly without any intellect? I mean, why wouldn't they just think about themselves, forget about them? Why would they even project this? And that's why they help them.
Again, we have to take the full perspective of today's world. Is there a difference whether you see a dog in distress or have a human being in distress? What's the difference? There are people who are, they have blinded themselves to their human qualities, to their intellect.
Yeah, but why did they go out of themselves at all like that to help anything like?
Because their sechel compels them to do that. They reacted, and your sechel compels them to do it. That's it. Yeah. Just as an aside, not an aside, using the opportunity. an important element in this is the person sees another human being in distress. Along with the union that he wants to help him, he has to sense this is my business. This union that this is my best business is a direct result of the chinuch. Although it's perfectly natural, but there could be a negative chinuch. And tell the kid, hey, it's not your business, don't worry about it. I've seen this. But the kid becomes disoriented from his own intellect. It's extremely, extremely hurtful, negative, destructive. What your intellect tells you, that is you, Neshama, talking to you. It should be encouraged, even by a child. Let's continue. Okay, so we have seen, pointed out, that there is the hamoichin in chitzonis amidus, even on the most remote, the most simple level of midas, the action level of midas. The kol shekain, how much more so, and surely, bevchinas pnimius hamidos, in the aspect of pnimius hamidos. Now we're going back all of a sudden, we're going jump to a different stratosphere. Pnimis Amidus Shebelev Adam Eli. Pnimis Amidus. This is the Midas as they are, beloved in the heart. Shezein Lemailo Adain Mebchinas Piula. They are completely above, as yet, at that stage, they're above of the aspect of piula, the aspect of action. So we're talking about Lev Odom Ha'elyon. But the similar Ayin is in Lev Odom Hilamayl. In the heart of man, there are the midas. There's a pnimis amidus. It has nothing to do with action. This is not the midah that reacts to come to the aid of somebody. Sheyesh bahem mebchinas hamech. That in these there is also B'chinas HaMeich. Here the Rebbe all of a sudden speaks completely about the Beis Maila, but we will talk about the Beis Mata first so that we can sense what this is about. We all know of the concept. This is a good person. Nachman, this is a bad person. The Indian that he's a good person does not reflect his actions because he's doing good. Can you pass me the box, please? Thank you. The principle of a good person is even when there is no one to do chesed. Even it's not a question of doing chesed with anybody. He looks at everything with a good eye. So a good person. In the heart, his midas chesed is vibrant. Let's understand this in. I'll take you away from the midas for a moment, and talk on a different level. The chayes in the hand. The hand is alive. We discussed it the other day. And in this life in the hand, there is the general living element, and then there's the koyach hayad, the koyach that's in the hand, that's specific for the hand. Koyach hatnuah shaviyad. The hand is always at the ready for movement. Not only when he has to do something. It is the chayas of the hand is such that he is always on the ready for action. And how do we see this? This is an interesting thing. It's very obvious. When a person's hand is lying on the table, he's relaxing. There's a difference in how a vibrant hand is relaxing and a sleepy hand is relaxing. A lazy hand is relaxing. A lazy hand is simply not active. There's nothing. A vibrant hand is relaxing for action. The Ayin of midos is present all the time. The chayas, and a person does not come to a lifeless entity. Like we learned in the previous line, that the moyach has sechel. In order that the moyach should have sechel, there has to be an overall chayas in the head that allows for sechel. And the sechel should feel comfortable in that environment. So there is the midos shebalev that are constantly functional within the midos themselves, not externally. I once mentioned to you, maybe more than once, an experience that I had with a guest in our home. He was our guest for many years. Shabbos, whatever it is. This man was on one hand very smart. He was a PhD candidate in mathematics. On the other hand, there was something very, very principally lacking in him. Finally, he told us that he was born together with his brother, were both retarded when they were born. But they both overcame the retardation. So you say, oh, what a miracle. There was no miracle. Well, how did I see it? This was a clear demonstration that it hasn't left him. He was able to do a lot of things. He can talk logical and so forth. One time he was sitting by the table, what happened to be actually by my in-law's house, and he was sitting, and he was sleeping. He dozed off. So I said to him, Salman, you're tired? No, so how come you dozed off? There was nothing going on. You understand? There was nothing going on. There's nothing going on externally, nothing's going on internally. That's not a living human being. In a living human being, there is never nothing going on. Even if there's nothing novel, he's constantly observing what's around him. He's constantly relating to it. This is called pnimis amidus. Pnimi is in the heart. The heart is always vibrant. And when it comes to action, it doesn't wake up from non-entity, from lifelessness. It just responds to the situation, and they're ready. This is a living, this is a vibrant heart. This is pnimis amidus. In this pnimis amidus, clearly there is the ashpas sechel. And here we can now understand why there is ashpas sechel. Because why is there this constant awareness, this constant life element? Because there is the awareness of the reality that sechel presents. A human being is never nowhere. This is the sechel providing the background and for the midas. Okay. But it has nothing to do with action. So Sheba K'mei, okay, we have 5 lines into that. Uk'moi, as is expressed in the Pasuk, it says, Vayemer Hashem Havaya El Libo. Hashem said to his heart. What did Hashem said to his heart? Shezehu Hamshoch as Bechinas HaMeichin Lemidois. This is where the Meichin were brought into the midas. Libo is the heart. Vayemer Havaya, this is the Meichin. And the moichin is nimshach in the midas, awakening the midas and directing them in a certain direction. Moi came to Bechinas HaMalchus. Similarly, is in the Malchus element. Shezehu kemoshel koyach hahiluk sheberegel. This is comparable to the union of koyach hahiluk, the walking ability in the foot. Okay. Now the walking ability is not created due to the fact that the foot is able to walk. The walking ability, the walking koyach hahiluk, is a koyach in the nefesh order. Like we said many times, Baal Shem Tov said, "Mokim sheritzoyne shel odam shomhu." A person is where he wants to be, even if it is in a totally different place than he is currently. In other words, the principle of being elsewhere, what he projects to be, this is part of the nefesh order. It did not come about as a result of the fact that he has feet and he's able to walk. Therefore, maybe I can now construe a completely different world. I can be elsewhere. This koyach hahilo, this is a koyach hanefesh. As the koyach hanefesh are mislabish in the human being, in the body to be transported cannot be transported by will. The nefesh, the chayes, can be transported by will. But the body, this is when it's mislabish in the body. The similar union as it is in the nefesh is reflected in the body. But there it takes effect in a totally different way. Just to illustrate the point, so we can have a clarity. an artist wants to render a certain picture. He does not think about the lines that this picture will needs. He thinks about the picture. When it comes to rendering this picture on the canvas, then he begins to think about the lines. But initially, he projects the whole picture on the canvas. The similar is in this koyach hahiluch sheberegel. When this koyach hahiluch is in the nefesh, in the rotzen ha'odom, in the sechel, there are no walking. There's no paths. He projects the entire reality of having been here, not here. It comes down to a lower, further down, all the way to the physical reality, the physical level of reality, rather than the spiritual level of reality. There, that principle is translated in minute detail. There's a distance of 10 feet from here to here. I can easily project, I see the plane. Then when it comes down to the factual, 10 feet means 10 steps. And these 10 steps are accomplished by moving your feet 10 times. The koyach hahiluch is mislabish in the feet. This is the lowest level of the koyach hahiluch. Like we said before, a person does not walk nowhere. He's always someplace. But it has to be translated on the lowest level, on the physical level. The feet are decaying for this level. Because the feet carry an object by the person, foot by foot, foot by foot. Let's contrast that with the hands. If you contemplate on moving this cup from here to here, you're not going to move it from here to here to here to here. You're going to reflect the entire purpose, what you're trying to accomplish, and you go straight there. Because the hand is on a level much higher than the foot. It's not bounded by the ground. It's directed by the sechel, by the will. The foot is bounded. So therefore, in Malchus, what Malchus is constantly recurring Inyan. As we mentioned the other day, it's an extremely rich Inyan. The principle of Malchus, as we're going to see now again, we're actually repeating this in a real melech was a melech over his nation, and he has a certain spirit that he is bestowing to his nation. He's bestowing this spirit to every last detail in the nation. Not only to his ministers, to the scholars, but all the way down to the simplest of people. He's a melech on all. And each one of them are representing the spirit that the Melech represents, the Melech bestows upon them. This is the union of Malchus. Is on the one hand, Malchus is such a super image. On the other hand, Malchus relates to every less detail. There's an interesting phenomenon in Malchus that demonstrates this principle. Say a melech is a melech on the United States, a huge country. It goes from sea to sea. Then a neighboring country, Canada, Brazil, decides, it won't hurt you if I take these 10 feet away from your country. It won't hurt you at all. I'm just going to move the boundary. This belongs to Canada. This belongs to Brazil. What will the Melech say? No way. Never in a million years. Never. That Malchus relates to every less detail. This is why in a Malchus, in the Melech, everybody is participant. Everybody is important. Like we're saying, if somebody doesn't know how to daven, say AyinBase. Yes, this is part of the structure of the government. Or stand there. Everything, nothing escapes the influence and the encompassment of a melech. That's the meaning of a melech. So the Malchus, this is like the Koyach HaHiluch. Wow. This is like the Koyach HaHiluch. As I pointed out, what's Koyach HaHiluch? Hiluch is the pshat that you cover every inch individual. And that is like the Malchus. Shehi bechinas sechel kol dam atzilus. This is the very last of all madrigas of atzilus. K'moshel haregel. K'moshel haregel, when the regel becomes a moshel for this sof kol dag in the atzilus. Okay, there's much to speak about. I'm going to let your own sechel fill in what could be enriched here. V'gam nikro regel. We have to. V'gam nikro regel. Another aspect on the fact that Malchus is called Regel, Nihiyois, being that Sheba ve'al yodo, that through it, through Mamshu, in it and through it, Malchus, Nimshach ha'gilui be'elam shelamat. The gilui is revealed, is drawn be'elam shelamato, in the lower world. After having discussed this whole inyan of the Hiluch, we can understand what this means. Nimshech ha'gilui be'elam shelamat. Throughout the time we're talking about the human being, we're talking about moichin, mido is the heart, the moyach. the koiches and koiches hatnu in the hand, koich hanefet, hatnu in the foot. It's still a living entity, still part of that which is encompassed by the nefesh, by the neshama of the person. The foot is also part of the neshama, on the lower level. When you talk about walking on the ground, this is a totally different world. It's a totally different world. And the relationship there, walking on the ground, there is not a chayus element there. You could say this is robotic action. Although we're constantly pointing out it's not robotic action. But it is of such a low level that even a robot can emulate a human walking. Because this is external, it doesn't have to have any aspect of life. Malchus is called regel, because Malchus is that which facilitates to bring the higher world into the lower world. The lower world versus the higher world are different worlds, are worlds apart. If we have to, we say all the time, Odom shein lebayis ein odom. A human being, in his concept, he has a home. He has a table. But the table, as it is conceptualized and sensed in his sechel and his nefesh, then it should be translated onto a physical table. There's a huge gap there. That is the effect of Malchus. But even externally, it can be translated. The table, the physical table, is definitely reminiscent and definitely representative of the concept of a table for a human being. But it's representative in a totally different environment, totally different world. How does it happen that a human being should be able to relate to this external world? This is due to the Malchus element. Like the Melech relates to the entire country. Every listening to it. Just want to finish this sentence. Ve'al shum zeh nikra regel, and because of this it's called regel. Shaba ve'al yoda hoylech ha'adam mimokim l'mokim. Foot is what the means by which a person walks from place to place. What is the place to place? External, in a different, completely different world than his own reality. This is it for this morning.
Yeah.